Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.
Welcome back to AI Hub, the place to be if you want to keep up with everything AI.
I'm Amanda, and I'm ready to dig into some really interesting AI stuff today.
And I'm Larry. Let's jump right in, because today's deep dive is all about Meta and their plans to bring facial recognition tech to the UK.
This is a pretty big deal because, Meta's had let's just say a controversial history with facial recognition.
Oh yeah, definitely some baggage there. But they're saying this time it's all about using facial recognition to fight scams. You know, those ones that use celebrities to trick people?
Right, like those ads where you see a famous actor supposedly endorsing some product and it turns out to be a total scam.
Exactly. Meta's rolling out 2 new tools in the UK to try and tackle this.
One of the tools is designed to protect celebrities from being used in those scam ads without their permission.
Sort of like a celeb bait protection system, I guess.
Yeah, you could call it that. And the other tool is aimed at helping users regain access to their accounts if they've been hacked.
Now, that's interesting. So, if someone takes over your account, you can use this tool to prove it's really you.
Exactly. It's called video selfie verification. You basically record a short video of yourself, and Meta's system analyzes your facial features to verify your identity.
So it's kind of like what some banks use for security now.
Yeah, very similar.
Okay, but here's the big question. How are they addressing the whole privacy issue? Because, people are going to be worried about Meta having even more access to their personal data, especially their faces.
Well, Meta is saying that they delete the facial data right after they use it for these specific purposes. Like, they're not adding it to some giant database of faces.
That's what they're saying. But, given their track record, it's understandable why people might be a bit skeptical.
Absolutely. I mean, remember that huge lawsuit they settled last year over improper biometric data collection? That was a $1.4 billion settlement.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one. It definitely makes you wonder if they've really changed their ways or if this is just, a PR move.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the UK, especially since Meta had to get approval from UK regulators before they could launch these tools.
So it seems like this UK rollout is a kind of test for Meta. If it goes well, they might try to expand these tools to other countries.
But if they mess up, it could really hurt their reputation even more.
It's funny. Even though they shut down their facial recognition system for photo tagging a while back, they still kept their deep face model, that powerful algorithm that's at the core of their facial recognition tech.
Deep face. That sounds a little ominous, doesn't it?
It does kind of make you wonder what they're planning for the future.
Yeah, what are their long-term goals for facial recognition? It's hard to say for sure.
Well, whatever those goals are, one thing's clear. Meta's going all in on AI.
They're investing heavily in AI across all their products, and they're even rumored to be developing a standalone AI app.
And they're getting more and more involved in lobbying around AI regulation, especially when it comes to what they consider risky AI applications.
It's like they're trying to position themselves as the responsible players in the AI field while raising concerns about what everyone else is doing.
It's definitely a strategic move, but it raises some important questions like who gets to decide what's risky when it comes to AI, and how do we make sure that these powerful technologies are developed and used ethically?
These are questions we all need to be thinking about because AI is becoming more and more integrated into our lives, and it's only going to accelerate from here.
You're right. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to keep digging into this whole Meta situation in our next deep dive.
We'll explore their history with facial recognition, the potential implications of deepface, and what their push into AI means for all of us.
So if you want to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to AI, make sure you stick around for part 2.
We'll be back soon with more insights and analysis. You won't want to miss it.
Okay, so we've talked about these new facial recognition tools Meta's using in the UK, but to really understand what's going on here, I think we need to look back at their whole history with this technology.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a bumpy road for them, hasn't it? I mean, Meta was really one of the first companies to really push facial recognition technology.
Oh, yeah. They were definitely pioneers in this field. But that came with some downsides, too. Like, what were some of the things that got them into trouble?
Well, one of the big controversies was around that feature they had where Facebook would automatically recognize your friends in photos and suggest that you tag them.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. It always felt a little weird to me, like Facebook was watching everything I did.
A lot of people felt that way, and it raised some serious privacy concerns, especially because Meta wasn't always upfront about how they were using that facial recognition data.
And it wasn't just users who were worried, right? I mean, regulators and privacy groups all over the world started to push back against Meta's facial recognition practices.
Yeah, exactly. Lawsuits started popping up claiming that Meta was breaking privacy laws by collecting and storing biometric data without people's permission.
Which eventually led to that huge $1.4 billion settlement they had to pay out last year. That was a pretty big deal.
It was a landmark case for sure, and it forced Meta to rethink their whole approach to facial recognition. They ended up shutting down their facial recognition system for photo tagging.
But here's what I don't get. If they shut down that system, how are they now rolling out these new facial recognition tools? It seems like they're contradicting themselves.
That's a good point, and it shows how Meta is trying to walk a fine line here. While they did shut down the photo tagging system, they kept their core facial recognition technologies, specifically their deep face model.
Yeah, okay. So back to deep face. What exactly is that and why is it so important?
Deepface is basically the brains behind Meta's facial recognition capabilities. It's a deep learning algorithm that's been trained on billions of images, which allows it to analyze faces and identify people with incredible accuracy.
So even though they got rid of one way they were using facial recognition, they still had the underlying technology just waiting to be used again.
Yeah, you could see it that way. And now they're saying that these new tools are different because they're focused on fighting scams and improving account security. So they're claiming these are legitimate uses of the technology.
They're saying that the potential benefits outweigh the privacy risks and that they've put in place strict safeguards to protect user data. But how do we know if those safeguards are really enough?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, Meta has a history of pushing the boundaries when it comes to data collection and privacy.
And the whole idea of risky AI applications is pretty subjective, right? What Meta thinks is risky might not be what users or regulators think is risky.
Exactly. That's why this rollout in the UK is so interesting. It's a test case not just for Meta, but for the whole future of facial recognition. Will people accept these new uses, or will privacy concerns win out in the end?
It's hard to say, but one thing's for sure, AI is changing so fast, and it's going to have a massive impact on all our lives. We need to stay informed and engaged in these conversations to make sure that AI is developed and used in ways that benefit everyone.
I agree completely, and that brings us back to Meta's push into AI more broadly. They're not just focused on facial recognition, they're investing in AI across the board, from developing their own AI apps to lobbying for regulations that benefit them.
It's clear that they see AI as a crucial part of their future, and they're trying to control how AI is perceived and regulated.
But as we've discussed, their past actions raise some doubts about whether they can be trusted to use this powerful technology responsibly. So what do you think, listener? Are you comfortable with Meta having so much influence over the world of AI? Let us know your thoughts.
So it's like Meta wants us to forget about all the controversy around facial recognition and see it as a good thing now.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to spin it that way.
And it's not just these new tools, right? They're also working on their own AI app, which could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's right. And they're getting more and more involved in lobbying around AI regulation, especially when it comes to those risky AI applications.
That lobbying effort is pretty strategic. I mean, it seems like they're trying to shape the whole conversation around AI so they can benefit from it.
It's almost like they're saying, hey, we're the responsible ones over here, don't worry about us. It's those other guys developing the risky stuff you need to watch out for.
But who decides what's risky and what's not? That's a tough question.
It really is, and that's where the whole ethical side of AI comes in.
It's not just about the technology itself, it's about how it's used and who's controlling it.
Absolutely, and how do we make sure those in control are using it responsibly and ethically, especially when you're talking about something as personal as our faces and our biometric data?
There are no easy answers here, that's for sure.
But one thing's clear, we need to keep talking about these issues, asking tough questions, and demanding transparency from companies like Meta.
We can't just assume they'll do the right thing. We need to stay informed and hold them accountable.
And that's where you, our listeners, come in. Stay curious, ask questions, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Because the future of AI is being decided right now. And we all have a role to play in making sure it's a future we can all be comfortable with.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dive into Meta's latest AI moves.
Thanks for joining us. And if you found this deep dive insightful, make sure to subscribe to stay updated on all things AI. We'll be back soon with more, so don't miss out.
Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.